Improved survival of sick and preterm babies has become possible because of improved intensive care, manpower training, better facilities both in government and private sector in India and the world over. These babies should survive with intact outcomes. They should be able to participate in the normal activities of living and pleasure, and it is therefore necessary that we focus on their developmental outcomes right from the intensive care phase. Why screen is because many of the problems that we need to correct should be addressed while the babies are in the NICU itself, and the care should not stop after the babies are discharged from the hospital. Although most babies survive with completely normal outcome, some babies who are in the NICU are definitely at risk of disability. They may not be able to participate in activities of daily living. They may not be able to perform in school. They may not enjoy the normal leisure activities that all children should. It is definite that early detection of these problems and timely intervention can completely mitigate some of these disabilities. And in others, at least we can modify and decrease the severity of these disabilities. What we will learn today is who needs this follow-up, who are these babies at risk, what are the screening tests we need to do while the babies are in NICU, and what is the right time to do them, and what development assessment and screening tests for development need to continue after the babies are discharged. It is important also to remember what are the specific interventions that need to be done to minimize the disability, and also how I can organize a follow-up service to be able to make all these things possible. Now, who needs follow-up? Some of the babies have a problem detected antenatally, like a birth malformation, or the baby may be severely growth restricted, may have Doppler abnormalities. All these may set the baby up for a developmental problem. All premature babies, low birth weight babies, and those who do not grow to full potential needs follow-up. Babies who suffer from perinatal asphyxia or who have been sick otherwise, like hypoglycemia, severe jaundice, infections, seizures, and respiratory distress. Virtually all babies admitted to NICU need intensive care follow-up and screening in NICU. If there is family history of developmental problems, these babies also need special care. Although follow-up is necessary for all NICU babies, it is neither possible, it increases the load on the follow-up services, and nor feasible for all the parents to keep coming back to multidisciplinary services. Therefore, we follow a risk stratification model. Some of the babies, for example, those born less than 28 weeks, less than 1000 gram birth, those who require severe resuscitation at birth, who had a symptomatic hypoglycemia, prolonged ventilation, these babies are at higher risk of disability. They need to continue to follow up intensively with multidisciplinary services. Other babies also need follow-up but may go back to the primary care physician and then be referred back if there is a problem detected. This kind of a risk stratification model was validated in India, and we could find that almost 80% babies could be saved of unnecessary intensive follow-up. The process of prevention of developmental problems should be a positive way. Development supportive care refers to all the processes of care that start in the NICU right from birth. Parents must start participating. They must be allowed to visit the baby as soon as the baby is sick and admitted to NICU. This is called family-centered care or early parent participation. Breast milk is undoubtedly the most important step in prevention of bad developmental outcomes. Kangaroo mother care, the more the parents are able to participate, the better it is, and all members of the family, the mother, father, and grandparents can participate in providing kangaroo care. Care must be taken to reduce the pain, to respect the baby's sleep, and also perform activities in sync with the behavioral state of the baby. Engineering methods must be employed to reduce unnecessary light and sound in the NICU. The monitoring chart must include not only intensive care vital signs but also neurobehavior of the baby. One must look at the baby's tone, spontaneous movements, and respect the sleep-wake cycles. A good cry, a good suck and swallow should develop by 34 weeks. This is called neurobehavior assessment, and all activities in the NICU must be carried out in sync with awake and alert neurobehavioral states. A bad neurobehavior that lasts for more than 4 to 6 hours may be the first warning sign that the baby is not healthy with his brain. The baby's growth also must be plotted on special charts. For preterm babies, we may use either a Fenton's chart or Intergrowth 21 till they become term age, and then continue with WHO growth charts after that. Head circumference must be plotted serially against length and weight to interpret whether the brain is growing well or not. Preterm babies who are born before 32 weeks or less than 1500 grams must undergo ultrasound screening to pick up intraventricular hemorrhage and periventricular leukomalacia. The first scan must happen at 1 to 2 weeks and the second one at 36 to 40 weeks before the baby is discharged. Repeat scans may be done before this if there is excessive encephalopathy or a cardiorespiratory emergency. In term babies who have suffered asphyxia, they must undergo an MRI ideally by 5 to 7 days after birth. The RBSK program mandates screening of all babies born less than 34 weeks and 2000 grams for screening for retinopathy of prematurity. The first screen must happen by 4 weeks. One must have a clear hospital protocol for dilatation of the eyes and for prevention of pain during screening. The eyes must be followed as per recommendation of the ophthalmologist 1, 2 or 3 weekly till the retina matures completely. Thereafter, every 6 to 9 months we must have an examination till 6 years of age for refraction, squint and other problems of the eye. Hearing assessment early is very critical in language development. Hearing must be done by both OE and ABR and must be completed before the baby is discharged ideally. If the baby does not pass BERA, then by 3 months one must consider confirming the diagnosis of hearing impairment and definitely start intervention before 6 months of age. Babies who have a hearing intervention before 6 months have normal language development. Thyroid screening must be done in NICU. Both by TSH and free T4 would be ideal. The first screen should be done between 48 and 72 hours of life. In sick babies and babies who are born premature, the TSH may rise late, and therefore it must be repeated at 2 weeks of age or at least by 1 month of age, depending on if the baby is discharged or not. In units that are practicing newborn screening, after 3rd day of life, screening for metabolic disorders also must be done. It is important to examine the babies for neurological intactness before they are discharged. Ideal time to do a neurological examination, a simple one like Hammersmith neonatal neurological examination would be when the baby is premature babies at 40 weeks and 2 weeks of life in term-born babies. Recently done studies have validated that earlier discharge can also predict outcomes and may be done even as early as 36 weeks of gestation. How to continue follow-up of these babies after their discharge. You can see that baby requires assessment in multiple domains of development, and therefore a screening tool like Trivandrum scale, which may be very easy, may be employed for the low risk babies. For babies who are at higher risk, a very comprehensive development assessment scale like Bailey scale or its Indian adaptation like the DASI may be used. In these COVID times, when babies are not able to come to hospital, we innovated by using the ages and stages questionnaire, which the parents can do at home and then video or internet based assessment can be done from the hospital. A comprehensive neurological examination using simple tools like Hammersmith Infant that assesses the tone of the baby's spontaneous movements and also looks for asymmetry may be useful. General movement assessment tool is very accurate in predicting cerebral palsy, although it requires training to do this test. By age of 5 months, one may be able to detect babies who are at high risk of cerebral palsy. The end point of all this screening and follow-up is to be able to do the right intervention at the right time. If you diagnose congenital hypothyroidism, thyroxine must be started within a week of birth. If ROP is found to be type 1, one which requires treatment, laser photocoagulation should happen within 3 days of diagnosis. Tone abnormalities must be both prevented and treated by employing an occupational therapist well inside the NICU itself and continue after follow-up. Swallowing dysfunction must also be prevented and corrected early. Speech language pathologists should be there in the NICU and also in the follow-up services. If hearing impairment is picked up, then within 6 months one must employ a hearing aid. One would realize that we have done so many things along with intensive care that is going on. If we wish to make sure that we do not miss things at the right time, then a checklist model is required. The Blue Book is one such checklist model which allows us to enter in the same book all the antenatal risk factors, the care to be done inside the NICU and also after discharge. And this is written down in a plain language that the parents can follow. It is important that there be a team to be able to implement all these and that parents be educated the need and the schedule for follow-up so that they would comply to these services. Lastly, one must remember it is best to prevent disability by practicing best medical science in the intensive care unit, by doing developmental supportive care. If there is a problem, then early screening and timely intervention is very critical. Stratifying risk of babies who are in the NICU allows us to send back most babies to the community and follow up closely those babies who are at higher risk. Having a checklist model will ensure that nobody is missed and the right care happens at the right time. A developmental team should be evolved, which includes a developmental therapist with the nodal person as the intensivist, an ophthalmologist, audiologist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, and pediatric neurologist. We may sometimes need the help of orthopedicians and other specialists. The key to make this program possible is educating the family and having them get involved in care of the baby from very beginning. Thank you.